come visit, which was nice because we haven't seen anyone in a very long time. I hope the audio quality is okay. It's hit or miss. Somebody want to let me know in the chat if it's terrible. I'll try to do something about it. Maybe if I talk really close to the microphone. So, scams. In honor of the anniversary of 9/11, I thought we would talk about scams. And scams are something that are near and dear to my heart because my journey with learning about cryptocurrency was absolutely crushing in terms of the number of scams that we encountered, and it really just drove home to me how many people out there really just don't have any kind of sense of ethics or they just they don't care. And there are a lot of people that feel that way. And I think that our culture has kind of cultivated this disposition or this belief that everyone is really out for themselves, and people create a sort of veneer of being friendly and kind and polite, and we kind of have to accept those surface level personalities as the actual core person in order to just make society work so that we can deal with each other and get through our lives. And I think what that actually facilitates is a lot of scams. And along those same lines, I think that, they say the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And this is a great case of that. One of the big trends these days in, amongst New Agers and the plant medicine community, and even just people that would call themselves liberals, I guess, any mention of anything negative under any context for any reason is like a reason to shut someone out and dislike them. Really, over the past few years, the realization of how much these supposedly open-minded spiritual types, the real reality is that if you deviate from whatever narrative they've adopted at all, or even a little bit, you are a black sheep and you are labeled as, it's just really bad. It's really, really bad. And so what that facilitates is that people that want to come into the plant medicine community or spiritual communities, toxic positivity, man, it's so bad because it allows people to hide under the cover of, nobody can criticize anyone. If you say anything negative about someone, even if it's true, your intentions are good, you're trying to look out for your community, you're trying to protect people, you're the bad guy. And so, and of course this extends beyond just like business and professional scenarios. There are a lot of deep lessons, I think, that we're presented with by the universe that require us to entertain some knowledge of the darker sides of experience. And people are just determined that everything is going to be light and rainbows, and we're going to sit around puffing unicorn farts and doing lines of fairy dust, and there's not going to be, it's just all light all the time, and that's just not the reality. So first, let's talk about this situation with Earth Pulse. And I want to say that I don't necessarily think these are terrible people, and, scam may have even been a harsh word, which is not to say that I don't think they're doing harm or that they're going to do harm, because I do. And I'm 100% positive that there's some dishonesty involved, but kind of one of the reasons that I decided to choose them is that they sort of epitomize a very, very common scenario throughout the plant medicine world, and every other facet of my existence, I guess. There's some version of this everywhere, I guess is what I'm saying, but it's very, very common in spiritual communities because for example, when someone signs up for a course, it's kind of implied that they don't know anything about the subject that they're signing up for. So if you just tell them a bunch of crap, they're never going to know. And so people, based on that knowledge, do that, and they're charging, this particular group charges up to $4,400 for one-on-one sessions. So let's start at the beginning, okay? So last year, I think it was, I saw a post in the town where I was living, and it was a guy that was planning to start a mystery school that also dealt with ayahuasca. And so I thought, well, that's amazing because, I'm into both of those things, and I was actually looking for a partner because Enrica is, our baby had just been born, our son had just been born, and she wasn't really in a position to help me facilitate, and doing it alone was not good. Um, it's just, there's always somebody that needs a lot of attention. People lie and say that they don't have a lot of trauma, or they exaggerate about their experience, and there's just always one person that just needs the majority of the attention, and in very high dose situations. And tourist medicine, I feel like, is also a scam. So. Also, a lot of people are being honest, and they don't realize that 90% of the uh, groups out there, and even the shamans, I mean, I know this for a fact that it's intentional because they've told me as much, serve tourist medicine because they don't want to take a chance having to deal with gringos coming unglued on them. One of the shaman here in Puerto Rico, in the Quechua community, said that he gave ayahuasca to tourists one time in his life and will never do it again. Um, so the point is, I needed help, and I thought this would be perfect because he's going to know, the same traditions that I do. He'll know the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram, and it's just also really cool to have a like-minded person around. I had just been set up by the flat earthers in town, and our lives were threatened because we were arguing on the side of science, and that apparently makes you an evil Satanist. So, having a comrade around seemed like it would be a good thing. And so I went to meet with him, and so after, a little bit of small talk, I asked him, what traditions do you study? What mystery traditions have you studied? And he said, oh, well, I need to get around to that. And I was just immediately just struck, like, you're starting a mystery school and you don't know anything about the mysteries? And his response actually yesterday, because I have been in email contact with them, was that it was just an unfortunate label. Like, you should have called it something else. But I don't think that changes the fact that it's misleading. And also, there's a rule in every mystery tradition of which I am aware that is followed by every school of which I am aware, that you do not charge to teach people in the mysteries. It's totally against the rules from the get-go. So we have a problem on every level. And it is fair that he's not actually pretending to be of one of these lineages and having this knowledge and all that. But still, I don't think it's ethical. It's like calling your school a engineering college when you have never studied engineering. It's just not okay. And then we come to the ayahuasca. He told me that his partner had drank a few times the year before. His experience was very minimal, and now they have decided that they are training facilitators on the internet for $4,000. So let's kind of unpack that a little bit and talk about why that doesn't work. For one thing, you cannot teach people to facilitate on the internet. As much as I try to remain woo-free while having an open-minded attitude towards spirituality in general, I think in the case of ayahuasca, which is probably the strangest and most powerful and least well understood technology that exists in the entire universe of which I am aware, it's better to err on the side of caution when it comes to the woo, right? Because we really don't know, I mean, even a lot of the indigenous shamans will admit that they don't know what is really going on with it for sure. It's a crazy thing, and there's a lot of power in it, and I have seen things several times, many times, that totally challenge the deterministic, rational outlook, the total materialist, woo-free, modern perspective is deeply and fundamentally challenged by a lot of things that happen consistently with ayahuasca. What I'm getting at there is that you're working with energy, and you're not doing that over the internet. There was a guy that I had to just delete. He was in my suggested channels because he had started doing these things where he was doing energy healing, where he would sit in a chair and kind of flop and twitch and stuff, and it was somehow supposed to be just randomly sending energy out to all the people that are being healed. And I just couldn't believe I was seeing it. I mean, this is not how things work. So, and then here's the other thing, and this is the most important part. This is why I say that all of these type of courses are basically scams. Even if the people are well-intended, even if they have a little bit of knowledge, which in this case they don't seem to really have any knowledge at all. This is so bad. You cannot pay someone to teach you to become a shaman. I'm sorry, that's just not how it works. Like, most of you guys will never be shaman. I don't mean you guys watching, I mean you guys in the whole world. It's not something that you just suddenly decide you're going to pay someone to teach you how to do. I think that consciousness is evolving, and it may be that there will be a higher percentage of people that are capable of connecting to this universal mind that facilitates the development of shaman. But paying someone to talk to you over the internet, $4,000, is not going to do anything but cost you money. Like, it's not real. And I even really would be suspicious of people that teach it in person, because in most traditions there really was no apprenticeship. That's just not how shamanism is. Shamans are born, not made, is one way that it's like almost like an old saying. But I would also say that it's actually both. Shamans are born and they're made. It's a lifelong process that usually starts in childhood. The person is different. They seem to be in touch with some reality beyond the gilded page. And yeah, Pyro, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with it too. I mean, there are a couple of reasons that I just really don't want to interact with the general public in that way anymore. And part of it is just that, here I am in South America. People are struggling, and for people from California to come down here and charge outrageous amounts of money, or even the same amount of money as the indigenous shaman, just stealing business from them. You're almost definitely guaranteed to not be, what's up, man? Thank you. As qualified as they are, and that's not. I'm not saying that white people can't be shaman, and that there aren't some that are just as good as anybody else. That's not true. One of the best shamans that I know was Czech, and a lot of people that have worked with both of us like working with me better. So I mean, I think that that's not the point. But I still think it's inappropriate to, especially here in the jungle. In Vilcabamba, in the Andes, where there aren't any ayahuasca shaman anyways, it's kind of a different story. I mean, you're not stepping on anyone's toes. But that's basically it. It is a lie if someone tells you, pay me, I will teach you to be a shaman. Even if you are chosen to do an apprenticeship with a shaman, just as often as not, people fail. And we're talking about people that they're not having to overcome the matrix programming of growing up in a society that is totally cut off and doesn't even believe in the energetic and spiritual realms that are necessary to make contact with in order to be efficacious at healing as a shaman or teaching as a shaman. And so even indigenous people that are chosen as apprentices often fail to actually graduate to full-blown shaman. And so, do you have to be a shaman to be a facilitator? No. I think that, a lot of people in the U.S. can benefit from this medicine, for example, or Europe or Australia, where there are not, real shaman anywhere to be found, and so they shouldn't be denied access to the medicine. However, we're down here in South America where there's plenty of these people around, and the other problem is that if you have people that are not qualified to facilitate themselves, teaching people to believe that they are qualified facilitators and giving that responsibility to people that actually aren't qualified, this is a horrific public safety threat. Like, it's really serious, really, really serious. And I think what we have, the situation is basically rooted in the fact that a lot of people think that all of it's nonsense. They have no respect for the traditions, they have no respect for the practices because they don't think there's any power there. They don't think there's anything that's actually really important. And so they don't see any reason, it's all bullshit anyways, so it's not harmful to just make stuff up and pretend. But it is. It is. And, I'm not just being a jerk with the thing with the mystery school. I have been initiated into several different Hermetic and Masonic fraternities or mystery schools, and we have a thing called an obligation, or the obligation. And one of the constituents of that agreement is that if there is anyone who is pretending to knowledge of the mysteries or profiting from the mysteries or any sort of charlatan in association with the mysteries, you will publicly confront them, you will publicly call them out, you will expose them as charlatans. And so I swore an oath to do what I'm doing right now, honestly. I mean, I do sympathize with the fact that the guy is not actually like pretending to be a mystery school initiate, but if you say, hey, I'm starting a mystery school, and you actually don't even know what a mystery school is, I think that is a red flag. It's an indication that there's something wrong, because how could you make that make sense? You can't, basically. And, the other point of this thing is that it's supposed to teach people to be life coaches, which are generally people that just got a certificate from. I mean, I knew another girl that did one of these programs. It was $1,500, so it was way cheaper than this one. And I sat in kind of in the background of one of the programs, and it was this lady kind of gossiping about all of the people in her circle, and $1,500. And then, the girl would tell me, I have no idea what I want to do with my life, and she's a life coach. I mean, I just think we have to be very, very careful about seeking guidance from these people, especially when they charge outrageous amounts of money. That should be a huge red flag. I am not critical of people for making money. I'm not critical of people for expecting to get value for value. This is not just capitalism. This is a law of the universe. It's an equal and opposite reaction. That is how things should be. Value for value, and value is partly determined by cultural context. So in our society, value is money. By and large, it's necessary, but if you're going to be paying someone over $4,000, they should be highly qualified, extremely skilled, and have dedicated their life to the traditions that they're teaching, and certainly not saying things like, well, I really need to get around to starting to study after they've already started to charge people for admission to their school, right? I mean, I don't really feel like I need to say a whole lot more about this, but I know people in Vilcabamba. The guy told me today that, one of the reasons that they weren't a public health threat is that they're only doing it over the internet, which I was like, okay, well, that's also fake. You can't teach people to be ayahuasqueros over the internet. I know there's other stuff they're doing, but still, that's just complete nonsense. And I also know 3 or 4 people that live in the town that have signed up and spent all their money, and some of them just given all, because they really believe that they're going to be able to go and make a lot of money when they get their certificate of whatever. So, you guys don't sign up for any of those kind of classes or courses. It's not, Oh, and also, here's the last thing I have to say about this. If you guys really want to go and work with real shaman and learn about it, they're not going to lie to you and say, you'll be qualified to be a facilitator when you finish this program. They're just going to teach you, that's all it's about. There's no... The test for whether you're a shaman or not is not, can you pay us money? You can't just pay to do it. But there's the Ayahuasca Foundation, for example, and this is one of the reasons this whole scenario bugs me so much. I am here in the rainforest trying to figure out how to help the Waorani and other people protect the jungle. I've always loved the Amazon rainforest. Now that I'm actually living in it, I love it more than ever. It's just extraordinary and amazing. It blows my mind every time I go for a walk. And I don't want to see it graze to the ground for gold and oil and whatnot. And there are people all throughout the Amazon rainforest that are working with plant medicine, and they're giving all the money to the indigenous people, to indigenous rights, to protect the rainforest. And so there is one criteria, okay? If you are working in plant medicine and you are not indigenous, if your business does not support indigenous people, it's unethical, period. There's no full stop, right? So there's that. And then there's also the fact that, the Ayahuasca Foundation, for example, you are learning from Shipibo shaman that are the real deal, that have devoted their entire lives to what they're doing. Their ancestors have been doing it forever, and it's totally safe, and it's real, it's legitimate, and you're there in person, and it's like half the price that these people, not even half, it's a third of the price that they're charging for instruction over the internet. And what is all this overhead for? Oh, the other red flag I will share with you is the guy was saying that he wanted to buy all this property and stuff, and he actually didn't have any money. So one of the other tactics that they'll use is that they kind of like act like they have a lot of money, and because if you're going to be a life coach, then you have to have your life together. But this dude was like living in a barn for free and going around pretending like he had money to gain people's confidence so that they would invest with him. I mean, it was really, really bad. There was one review on the Facebook post the other day that was so obviously contrived. It's just amazing to me that anyone falls for this stuff in the first place. There was just like a bunch of buzzwords that they had found on like plant medicine and spirituality pages just strewn together, so it didn't even really make sense. It was just embarrassing. So there's that, you guys. If you're in Vilcabamba or whatever, just don't fall for this stuff. It's just not good. Okay, so are any of you guys interested in cryptocurrency? Because I do have some advice. There are so many scams, and I'm not going to talk about this very much, but I just thought since the theme of our discussion tonight is scams, we should talk about crypto scams because it's something I do get into from time to time on this channel. So if you guys are going to gamble with shitcoins, one of the things that you have to do is check, there's like, on the poo charts, you can look at wallets, and you can make sure that there isn't a wallet that's holding some ridiculous percentage of the total of the tokens. You have to check out the teams, but being doxxed does not mean that they're not a scam anymore. So don't necessarily trust that. Never, ever, ever, ever buy in a pre-sale until you see at least one sale, because they can lock the liquidity, trap your money so that you cannot sell. Let's see, what else would we say about that? And also, I wouldn't be out there gambling with sketchy tokens, because right now all you really need to do is buy MetaHero, Solana, Cardano, Ethereum, and just wait. That's it. I really wouldn't go chasing all this crazy BSC stuff. It's just going to get you ripped off, and it's going to make you crazy. In my opinion, MetaHero is going to 100 billion or more, and it's at like 1 billion right now, so you can 100x your money there. The team that launched MetaHero is about to launch another token, and part of the reason I'm promoting them is because one of the guys that started it is a co-founder of WikiLeaks. And he had actually had his account frozen by the U.S. government, and so he got into cryptocurrency, and I really liked that there was somebody that was sort of an outlaw, a renegade, and he's succeeding. These guys are all going to be billionaires, everyone on the team probably, somewhere in that. And so, one of the things I love more than anything in the world is to see the right people getting a lot of money, so that we can shift the balance of power. Because whether you like it or not, and I know this is something that a lot of spiritual people really hate to hear, really hate to think about, but as long as the conditions that we're dealing with in our reality remain consistent, money is power. And so the maybe only way that we are ever going to change the balance of power is to concentrate the money in the right hands. And so one of the really promising things about cryptocurrency, I was looking at this the other day, so Bitcoin has like a $3 trillion, or maybe it's more now, trillions of dollars, okay? MetaHero is gonna hit 100 billion, it's at a billion now. Hex is 55, 79 billion, right? Like these huge numbers all over the place. There are tokens I've never heard of. I'll pull it up and realize there's $100 billion in some token I've never heard of. The money is basically getting rug pulled from the banking institutions. We really are sucking them dry. And of course, they're going to find ways to concentrate a lot of that wealth amongst themselves. But it is an opportunity for us to redistribute it to some degree and to balance the distribution of power and wealth. But we have to get really good at it, and we have to take action, and you have to believe it, and you need to know what you're doing, you know? So I'm going to start adding crypto advice again to my Patreon. I got really burnt out because we got ripped off so many times, but now I feel like I've really got it down. The few tokens that I'm working with are killing it. They're going to continue to kill it. And you guys, I mean, I've seen with my own eyes, very small amounts of money can become very large amounts of money overnight. I've done it before. So, you know, we don't need to be poor. Coming from me right now, that might not have a lot of weight, but, you know, circumstances are a bitch, man. And, you know, somebody criticized me for running off to the Amazon without a plan with my family and stuff. But you may have forgotten that we were actually, our lives were threatened because we, I debated a flat earther. They were going to kill us. They threatened my supporters, old lady, like, you know, she's over 70, to kill her for supporting me. And we had built our lives there. You know what I mean? This is not financial advice. I have more in common with Aleister Crowley than Warren Buffett. But everything I just said was solid. Solana, Cardano, MetaHero, Terra, Ethereum. That's it. That's it. And maybe, you know, if you want to mess around, another good strategy, you guys, find like 10 promising shitcoins, really shitty shitcoins that are launching really low, and then just put like $5 in all of them. If they 1000x, it's $5,000. And it happens all the time. So that's something you can do, and you're almost guaranteed to win. If you pick 10 relatively decent ones, make sure you get in all of them right after launch. And by the way, what happens at launches anymore is the pre-sellers, it goes way up, and then it drops way down. So you have to wait for that cliff drop, then get in, and it'll go back up, hopefully. So there you go. That's enough. What I just told you, even with a small amount of money, you guys can make your lives totally different within 1 year. I mean, you know, like I said, not financial advice, but what I just said will allow you to, you know, if you have $1,000, it'll be $1 million in 1 year. If you get in on a 10-cent launch or something like that, $1,000 can easily become $1 million. There's never been anything like this in history. So let's talk a little bit more about some different kinds of scams. So let's talk about 9/11, since it's the anniversary of 9/11. I'm not going to go into huge detail about, you know, what might or might not have happened. I don't really care too much about all the conspiratorial details because I feel like at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. What does matter is a few details that are just so blatantly, what do you call it? Like, they designate some shit like, absolutely, right? Building 7 fell down for no reason. There's never been a good, reasonable explanation for that. Yeah, it's totally true, Flezic. Crypto, nothing like it has ever happened before. And we have to change the balance of power. We have to get the right people empowered. And unfortunately, the way to do that, it's not even unfortunate. I don't mind being rich. That's fine, you know. Just don't ever get so rich that it's gross, you know. I mean, I don't understand that. That's something that really just boggles my mind. Once you have enough for yourself and maybe, you know, a couple of generations to live the rest of their lives, like, why would people kill people to make more money? It's just completely crazy. But anyways, let's try to stay on topic here. 9/11, something definitely fishy. Like those guys' passports. You know, we have flames that are supposedly melting steel beams, and they find their passports. Like, you don't need passports to fly within the borders of the United States. So, you know, I'm going to go do some I'm gonna go do some terrorist shit. Let me grab my passport. So I mean, it's just really, really dumb. I also think that the circumstance that George Bush happened to be like reading to little school children when the planes hit the towers was absolutely ridiculous. I mean, you guys really think that George Bush was sitting around reading to school children like regularly? It was just a coincidence that this thing happened and that's where he happened to be. And they had cameras on, of course. You know, I mean, well, I guess they would record. Somebody would record. That actually isn't that suspicious, but yeah, man, the unmelted passports in the rubble was like, it's just so stupid, and you guys should be insulted. Like, they really are banking um, on the people being too stupid to think. You know, I mean, there's so many circumstances that this is definitely sketchy. And so I'm not trying to be negative, but I really do think we need to have awareness of, you know, what's happening around us in the world. And in response to 9/11, something was drafted called the Patriot Act, and I'm sure you guys are aware of it. But and this was written primarily, Joe Biden claims to have written it. People have disputed me and said no, he's not. He says he did. So taking him at his word, Joe Biden authored the Patriot Act. This is the same person that wrote the 1984 crime bill that was also racist legislation that put millions of black men in jail unfairly. And so the Patriot Act strips you of your right to an attorney, a phone call, a trial, and it wasn't supposed to be used against American citizens. But let's think that through. Let's unpack that a little bit. The implication that only American citizens, at the time, definitely more predominantly white than they are now, have God-given rights, because, you know, the American Constitution, the U.S. Constitution says all people, all men have inalienable rights given to them by God, not by the government, okay? So how is it that these are God-given rights that you can somehow take away from a brown person from the Middle East? Like, how is that a thing? And speaking of, the supposed mastermind of 9/11 is still sitting in Guantanamo Bay and has not had a trial, and it has been 20 years, 2 decades. I think this is what year is it, 2021? So this is the, 20th anniversary? By the way, if you guys haven't hit the like button, share it, subscribe, support us on Patreon, you can hit up our GoFundMe. It's better to send money through PayPal or Zelle. We're still really kind of flirting with disaster in terms of having the money to go see the Warani and make this documentary and interview the shamans and do all this stuff that I think is actually important. This is a tribe that has very little contact with the outside world. Still to this day, it's a very unique opportunity for me to go in there and document it maybe before it's gone, and I'm having a hell of a time raising support. One person did send us a bunch of Ethereum, but I was only able to cash, and that was amazing. Thank you if you're watching. I just blew my mind because it was so substantial, but we can only take 300 of it out, and that's great because we need to save it. But please, if you can, help us out with the Warani trip, and the best way are the PayPal and Zelle email in there. And then we're leaving next week. Like, whether we have any money or not, we're going to go at least check out the village and see what's up. So what else do we have to say about 9/11? I mean, okay, so they actually ultimately did use it on American citizens. Obama signed death warrants on 3 American citizens who were killed by drone strike without a trial. And this is one of the horrifying things about being alive in 2021 as an American citizen. Because there was a time when, whether it was a Democrat or a Republican that had murdered a U.S. citizen without a trial, both people on both sides of the aisles would have wanted that president arrested, right? Like, seriously, you know? And if you show that, I'm not saying tell it to Democrats, but prove it to them, they will just rationalize it, or even though they're looking at proof, they'll call you a liar. I mean, the selective perception and ability to maintain states of cognitive dissonance that don't just border the mental illness line. They actually have, plowed well through it at this point. And I know that so far I've only really been picking on Democrats. Republicans are no good either. It's like on either side of the aisle, people are just complete idiots. And insane. They're insane and brainwashed. And the longer this goes on and the more the plot thickens, the more I am absolutely confident that when I say that people are brainwashed and insane, I'm not exaggerating, I'm not wrong. It's absolutely true, and it's absolutely horrifying. So hear me out here. Somebody asked me what I thought about alcohol. Are you still here? Because I'm sorry I didn't answer that before. I think alcohol sucks. And the only reason that it's legal is because it's really the only mind-altering substance that doesn't make you want to improve your life. It causes no introspection. And I'm not saying it's not possible to have a positive alcohol experience. It certainly is. But I think that it was allowed to be legal because it's not vaguely psychedelic. It's just a terrible toxic poison that is a pacifier. And, in my opinion, hard alcohol and heroin are pretty much on the same tier. It's just that people don't shoot hard alcohol. And, the cartel's not manufacturing the hard alcohol, so it's not full of fentanyl and toxins and all of this crap. So, and honestly, heroin is not as damaging just in terms of toxicity. So I think alcohol is an absolute train wreck of a drug. I wish I had never drank it. There are very few drugs that I just wish I had just never, ever tried. And alcohol is basically one of them because there's just nothing good really ever came of it. So it sucks. What was I saying about the Patriot Act? Okay, so they start stripping away all the rights. And it's supposed to not apply to American citizens, but in actuality it does. And so that is extremely racist. So part of what I'm trying to elucidate here is really pay attention to, remember this narrative of we're getting rid of the racist guy, Donald Trump, with this other guy who's not racist, that wrote the most racist legislation ever written in the United States. So it's like this crazy mindfuck of lies and distortions, and it is really difficult for me to believe that we just coincidentally have the author of the Patriot Act in the White House when COVID is happening. People are all locked down in their house. There's the biggest awakening in the history of this planet probably occurring right now. A lot of people have a lot of things wrong. I think there's a lot of confusion. But, if you compare the right wing of today with the right wing of 1980, we have made a ton of progress. If anything, I think liberals have degraded in general and are actually really frightening me. And it's very disappointing because I used to feel like I had some people more or less on my side in the mainstream, and now I kind of feel like they have all been duped. And the way that they do it is to convince people that they're taking the moral high ground. Let's talk about Joe Rogan, all right? So, I think I made my point there, basically, that this has got New World Order written all over it. And when they started legalizing weed in California and all around the United States, I was not, I know, man, look, I didn't like Trump, but what I was doing, because I didn't know anything about really Donald Trump or Joe Biden, during the 2020 election, I think they're all working for the same people, but just to humor people, I would go on YouTube and I would say racist remarks Donald Trump. Couldn't find anything really. And I actually did find CNN clips that had been edited to make him say things. I could find other clips that had the whole sentence. They actually were manipulating it. And, the lies and the distortions of what was actually happening were absolutely incredible. It was true, the right-wingers all saying, oh, they're painting Trump to be something he's not. From where I was sitting, it appeared to be true. And then I would search YouTube, Joe Biden racist remarks. There's hour-long videos just from the campaign trail. He dropped out of the race against Obama because he said, an educated, clean, articulate black man, that's like a dream, right? That is the guy that you're going to get rid of racism with. It's just the stupidest fucking thing that I've ever heard in my entire life. Yeah, I mean, but that's not really the point, man. The point is just that, you know, the narrative that we were being fed was obviously complete horseshit. And honestly, the fact that they turned on Trump like that actually kind of makes me think he might have actually been going after them. You know what I mean? Like, the only thing is, I really am of the opinion that this is maybe a right wing conspiracy to make liberals just look like the most insane, dirtbag, evil pieces of shit ever in the history of the world. And so people will embrace the coming right wing Christian fascism that they have been constructing in the United States since the very beginning, brick by brick. You know what I mean? That's what I see happening. That, some people, the right wing, think that the left is taking over and that they're evil and they're being paid by big business and all that. It's the same thing on either side of the aisle. And if anything, the right wingers are definitely the ones in control in the United States. Okay, so Joe Rogan and ivermectin. Am I saying it right? I don't even know. Who cares? You guys know what I'm talking about. The horse dewormer, whatever it was. So I saw Rogan today, and I believe him. He was saying that he's like, CNN is just lying about me. They're just lying, like straight up just lying through their teeth. He said, ivermectin is not necessarily a horse dewormer. It's a horse dewormer when it's given to horses, but it's actually an antiviral. And every doctor that Rogan saw told him that he should take it to get rid of his COVID. And the company that makes it for humans markets it as an antiviral. And this company is a Nobel Prize winning in medicine. They have a Nobel Prize in medicine. And they manufacture this drug for humans to kill viruses. Yeah, so you have to ask yourself, why are they lying if there isn't some crazy conspiracy going on? You know what I mean? It's just progressively gotten more and more and more and more obvious. And I over the years have sort of felt like I was growing out of the conspiracy theory thing because it just, I think partly I just wanted to believe I would get to grow up and have a normal life. That the New World Order wouldn't come clamping down and take all of our rights and do all of this evil shit, and that I had been wrong about all of that and all of the rest of the people as well. But the more this goes on, the less inclined I am to accept that. And one of the things that happened is that I saw John Daly from The Daily Show, I guess, was where he came from, and he was saying, it obviously came from a lab. I mean, I knew that right away. I know with certainty that he was saying, he was scoffing at people and telling you, if you believe that it was engineered by the Chinese, you're an idiot, and all this stuff. So all of a sudden they knew all along. And that's actually described in, I should have remembered the name, but there's a writing on propaganda that I happened to read around the same time that described that exact tendency to like mock the truth. And then, once it becomes impossible to, what do you call it, when you suppress or whatever, then you act like you knew it the whole time, So it does seem like, even maybe some of these big players are totally consciously playing along with these crazy ass narratives. Yeah, and I'm really glad to see all of you guys. It is getting bigger and bigger and bigger, that more and more and more and more people are really questioning things. And, for example, from my point of view, I've never really been exactly an anti-vaxxer. It's not that I don't believe that vaccines can do what they say they do, but I have a question. When, do you guys remember when Biden was running against Trump? And he was saying, I wouldn't take an untested vaccine, especially if this guy is telling me to do it. And then they turned around and said, they're playing politics with people's lives with telling them not to take the vaccine. He had literally just done that a couple of months before he was elected and then just suddenly flipped the script. Like, that actually happened in front of everyone, and like 4 people noticed. It's really, really, really crazy. So it's not that difficult to believe and to understand that people get scammed so often. You know what I mean? Speaking of scams, because it just seems like people just only see what they want to see, only hear what they want to hear. You ain't going to learn what you don't want to know. And the extent of it is just absolutely incredible and mind-boggling. This is why psychedelics are so important, ladies and gentlemen, and don't skip the meditation, because I think that, once you've established this inter-region communication in your brain and you have areas that have electrical activity that don't normally have it, your the holes in your perception um, seal up, and you have a holistic view of the reality that you're dealing with. And that's why the government really banned psychedelics in the first place, because they knew that people that took them saw right through all of their stupid bullshit. 100% faked live shot during the Gulf War. Yeah, I mean, I don't remember that, but it's really getting crazy, man. And when I heard Rogan talking about the ivermectin thing, okay, and here's another angle to consider this from. Um, Ivermectin, yeah, I had COVID too. It was not that bad. I mean, it was just like a really. I mean, I didn't get tested and prove it, but I mean, I had all the symptoms they described. So I'm very confident that I had COVID. Just to be clear, though, I didn't actually get a test. And, it sucked and it lasted forever, but I mean, it didn't seem any worse than anything else. But anyways, the point is, we're being encouraged to take a vaccine from a company. You guys know Moderna has never gotten FDA approval for any medicine that it has ever created. And then we're supposed to reject medicine that the type of doctors that people like Donald Trump and Joe Rogan, super wealthy elite people, go to see, right, are all congruent, right, with their recommendation that you take this ivermectin. Rogan even explained how it works on viruses in great detail. Rogan's not exactly like, he's not going to make this shit up off the top of his head. He's not that guy. He's not going to come up with stuff like that, Clearly someone told him, and it made sense. So why is CNN accusing him of misinformation? Like, why, if there was a simple way to just fix this and there was no agenda to use it to control people or to manipulate people, if there was nothing evil going on, why are they lying? Because they're definitely lying. Definitely. I mean, you guys remember wait, are you sure you had it? No, that's what I'm saying. I did not get a test. I was saying, I want to be clear about that. I didn't actually get tested. But I had, I got sick, and it was unlike anything that I'd ever had in certain ways. I lost my sense of taste, my sense of smell in a weird way. The cough was like, honestly, you know how I would describe it? It was like a machine version of a sickness. Like, it felt mechanical somehow. And it blew my mind when I heard someone else describe it. Yeah, no, I didn't have a fever either. So yeah, no, I did not get tested. I'm totally basing that on the fact that I was sick for like 15 days, and all of my symptoms totally matched the description of COVID. There were a couple of days where it was really bad, for sure. But is that it? I mean, we talked about 9/11. I mean, clearly something was weird there. The extent of it, I don't know. But the Patriot Act took all your rights away, and now here we are with COVID-19, all of our rights getting taken away again, and the guy that wrote the Patriot Act happens to be in the White House. And the alternative to Kamala Harris, who is one of the most evil politicians ever, and I'm not exaggerating, I mean, her record is horrendous, and just reading it would burn your eyeballs out. They had a choice of, I'm sorry, the Asian guy and the indigenous woman from Hawaii, Tulsi Gabbard, and the Asian guy, But the point is, they had two really smart, intelligent, young, attractive, progressive, forward-thinking leader types that seem to genuinely have the collective well-being, the collective well-being at heart. Tulsi Gabbard actually called Kamala Harris out on her slave labor and keeping the guy in prison for 18 years, even though she knew he was innocent and fighting his release. She's called him out in front of all the Democrats on national television, and this is a member of their own party. And then also 2 weeks before that, Kamala Harris had called Joe Biden a rapey racist. So, I know I've said all of this many times, but it's just really like, it bears repeating, She called Biden a rapey racist, and then a few weeks later, she's announced as his running partner. I mean, that is horrific. Like, that's not integrity. So either she was calling him a rapey racist and lying, which is terrible, or she believes he's a rapey racist, and even though she's a partially black woman, she still has no problem partnering up with him for presidency. I mean, it's really bad, you guys. It's just like from cryptocurrency to the plant medicine world to politics, there's just scams everywhere, And here's the thing that kills me, I guess. We really do have an incredible bounty on this planet. Here in the Amazon, where I live, in the natural world, there is edible plants and fruit, like, everywhere. Like, everywhere. There's edible stuff everywhere. There's fish in the river. There's fruits and vegetables all over the place. We really do have enough wealth to take care of everyone on this planet, and there would still be rich people to an extent. Everyone could have enough, and the sacrifices that the most disgustingly wealthy would have to make are really, they would still be rich. And as I've been saying over and over again for as long as I can remember, if you are complicit, if you are complacent, you are complicit. If you are complacent, you are complicit. If you are complacent, you are complicit. Keep your eyes out for that t-shirt coming soon in my store. It's been about an hour. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please do hit the like button, share, subscribe. Support us on Patreon. I did launch the new channel because we got demonetized. So the channel that does, that I can monetize is ready to go. Conscious Evolution won by a landslide, so that's the name. Although I don't really like conscious because it kind of implies like the conscious people movement, which in my mind is like liberal yuppies, which is fine. Liberal yuppies are fine, but it's just not really my thing, and that's not my audience, and that's not me. But I like the conscious evolution thing because that's what this is about, I think. This is about taking responsibility for our own development, our own transmutation from lead to gold. This is about, becoming aware that we can accelerate our own evolution, which in the case of human beings is a matter of accelerating the development of our consciousness. And the reality is that because of wonderful laws like entrainment, if we elevate our consciousness, it drags all of the other oscillating brain waves everywhere up with it. And this is science, it's not woo. Whether or not entanglement is actually going to play into this is actually, check this out, you guys. Entanglement is going to be affected by your thoughts and your consciousness, more than likely, because quantum decoherence is becoming a leading candidate for the source of our consciousness. And so, and it also reinforces one of my fundamental ideas. Well, if there's already, if it's conscious evolution journey, that's fine. This isn't conscious evolution journey, it's just conscious evolution. I was going somewhere good with that. Okay, opposites producing each other. Not just, a lot of people will say that in order to know good, you have to know evil, and in order to know pleasure, you have to know pain. I don't believe that at all. I think if you had never experienced any pleasure and you were just suddenly there and I shot you in the hand, you would know that it hurt. You know what I mean? You don't need to have had an orgasm to understand that a bullet in your hand is not a good thing. I don't believe that for 1 second. But I do think that opposites generate each other. And so consciousness is coherence. It's symmetry in energy, basically. That's what creates it. Stable relations between antinomical poles are what facilitates the harmonization process that consciousness arises from. And so decoherence is what is creating the symmetry. and the coherence that gives rise to our consciousness. And the next live stream, we'll get out of all of this dark, weird, scammy shit and conspiracies and back into some consciousness stuff. And that'll be one of the focuses. There are an increasing number of scientists and studies that support it, that quantum decoherence is what is giving rise to our consciousness. And so if you've been following my channel, you know it's very exciting for me because it fits in very nicely with a lot of other ideas that I kind of generated intuitively, despite my relative lack of education and whatnot. And the value of that is that it suggests that this idea that we're able to extract knowledge through non-ordinary means from visions and psychedelics and meditation, these kind of things, an Akashic record type of scenario, is a real thing. And I said in the very early beginnings of this channel that I would attempt to demonstrate that, and I feel like lately I have been, to my own surprise as much as anyone else's. Somebody hits the like button right now. Oh, they're gone. We almost had 11:11 there. Gosh, I feel like there was like one more bit that was worthy. Quantum decoherence. Oh, entanglement. So, if it is true that our consciousness arises from a quantum, from the quantum realm, let's say, then entanglement, which is, it's not a theory, it's true, but let's call it a theory of entanglement, is that all particles that were ever entangled remain entangled, just whether they're, on the other side of the universe. And they respond instantly, which is faster than the speed of light, which, is a problem for relativity, and it implies all these amazing things, like that, everything is really nowhere or in one place, and most importantly, the fundamental interconnectedness of all things. And so if this quantum process gives rise to our consciousness, that means that every single motherfucking photon or electron, neutron, proton, all of it, that was ever entangled with any of the particles that are constituent parts of the quantum process that is giving rise to our thoughts, 1111, then our thoughts affect the entire universe at all times, which, it's just a shit ton of implications that come raining down out of that. Our personal power, our personal responsibility to the entire universe. It's really tremendous. Thank you, Earthworth. And yeah, it is beautiful. But I think that we really need to integrate this knowledge and accept it. And if you guys follow the channel, you've heard my stories. You know what compelled me to entertain these kind of ideas in the first place. It was not watching The Secret or reading New Age books. I had all these experiences, and then I started to look into the phenomenology, and then I started to look for possible mechanics, what would facilitate these kind of actions and activities, what is telepathy? Everything that happens on this plane of existence is still bound to natural law. It's still governed by natural laws, and it's constrained in its activity by those natural laws. And we have not discovered all of the natural laws, probably. We have discovered invisible forces that we have constrained to our will, like electricity and gravity and nuclear fission and all sorts of other invisible natural forces that we have constrained to our will, right? But we assume that we have found them all. We also assume that none of them are intelligent. And I think we have a lot of surprises in store for us as we continue our journey into eternity, because every possibility that is possible within the constraints dictated by natural law will eventually materialize. That's what the universe is doing. And then once they've all been realized, the universe, the light will consume itself, it'll collapse back into singularity, the whole thing starts over again, and that's all a subject for another video. But thank you so much for watching. Please do support us on Zelle or PayPal. We really want to go see the Warani. I know I just said this a few minutes ago, but there's also some new viewers. So please, if you can, help us to get out there and learn to speak Warani and to document and learn from the shamans and barely contacted people who may not be able to continue their traditional way of living unless we are able to raise some awareness and find the funds and the manpower to protect the fucking land they live on and the Amazon rainforest. I mean, I see the destruction every day. It's not good. So help us help you and everyone else on this planet, because that's what our objective really is. So thanks so much for watching. Zelle and PayPal in the description. Patreon, ritual magic courses there, and secret stream on Sunday. All sorts of good stuff. So we'll see you guys, and thank you so much.